For nearly 80 years, Japan was defined by a peaceful image. It maintained only minimal defense forces. Now it is entering a new era.
Clearly the biggest defence industry agreement that will ever have been struck between Japan and Australia.
For the first time since World War II ended, Tokyo has signed a massive defence contract. It is considered the largest in the nation's modern history. The agreement shocked the region. It shows that Japan has officially returned to the global military race. What drove Tokyo to take such a bold step? Why did a key Indo-Pacific ally choose Japanese weapons, not American or European? And how will this deal change the balance of power in the region? After a total defeat in World War II, Japan faced a harsh reality. The country lay devastated. The economy collapsed. International trust nearly vanished because of war crimes in China, on the Korean Peninsula and across Southeast Asia. Under US occupation and tight supervision, Japan adopted a new constitution in 1947. Article 9 became the symbol of a new era. It declares that Japan renounces war as a means of settling international disputes and commits not to maintain armed forces with an offensive role. In practice, Tokyo formed the Japan Self-Defense Forces. The government limited their mission to territorial defense and the protection of civilians under attack. For decades, the peace clause served as both a legal restraint and a diplomatic instrument. It helped Japan rebuild its image as a peaceful nation and reassure neighbors still haunted by wartime memories. In 1967, Tokyo adopted a policy that almost completely banned arms exports. That decision removed Japan from the global defense market and allowed the country to focus all resources on economic development. As a result, Japan quickly rose to become the world's second-largest economy without military expansion. During the Cold War, East Asia's security order rested largely on the US-Japan alliance. Washington stationed large forces at bases across Japan, especially in Okinawa. Those forces provided a nuclear umbrella against the Soviet Union, China, and North Korea. This relationship created a balance. Japan kept the image of a peaceful nation and held defense spending at 1% of GDP. US forces guaranteed its national security. That balance formed the foundation of Japan's economic miracle in the latter half of the 20th century. After the Cold War ended, East Asia's security environment changed quickly. China began to modernize its military at unprecedented speed. It expanded its reach into the East China Sea and the South China Sea, directly challenging Japan's strategic interests. North Korea accelerated its nuclear and ballistic missile programs. It conducted test launches that flew over Japanese airspace, creating a direct security threat. Meanwhile, the United States, Japan's key ally and security pillar, shifted resources to other regions and asked Tokyo to share more of the regional defense burden. In this context, many countries saw Japan as a security-free rider. It benefited from Washington's protection without contributing in proportion. Pressure from inside and outside forced Tokyo to adjust its strategy. In the 1990s, the Japan Self-Defense Forces deployed to United Nations peacekeeping operations, expanding beyond a purely domestic defense role. These factors pushed Japan to move away from absolute peace and toward proactive defense. Japan was changing. A new doctrine was taking shape. It called for readiness to deploy forces and deterrent power beyond Japan's borders whenever national interests were at risk. The turning point came in 2014. Prime Minister Shinzo Abe ended nearly 50 years of restrictions on arms exports. He introduced the 3 principles on the transfer of defense equipment and technology. It was a decision that redefined Japan's post-war identity. Abe once said, "Peace cannot be preserved by wishful thinking alone. Japan must contribute proactively to peace and stability." His words marked a shift in direction. Japan would no longer stand as a passive observer behind its pacifist clause. It would act as a guardian of peace through strength, partnership, and determination. This was more than a legal revision. It was a transformation in Tokyo's strategic mindset. North Korea accelerated its nuclear and missile programs. Russia's invasion of Ukraine sent shockwaves through the global order. At the same time, China was reshaping the balance of power in East Asia. The People's Liberation Army Navy launched a new generation of warships, the Type 055 destroyers. Each carries 112 launch cells capable of firing long-range anti-ship, land attack, and air defense missiles. These ships patrol the East China Sea and the waters near Taiwan, projecting Chinese power deep into the Western Pacific. For Tokyo, the threat was no longer distant. It was now at its doorstep. The narrow waters around the Senkaku Islands had become the front line of a new contest for control at sea. Japan faced a choice. If it kept its rigid restrictions, it would fall into passivity, lose self-reliance, and miss the chance to rejoin the global defense market. Tokyo acted. It replaced the absolute ban with the 3 principles on defense equipment transfer. Exports were allowed only under strict conditions. First, the buyer must not be under a United Nations embargo or in active conflict. Second, the sale must contribute to global stability or strengthen Japan's security. Third, Japan must retain control over how the equipment is used and prevent transfer to third parties. These rules kept Japan's reputation as a responsible nation intact. But they also opened the door for its defense industry to step onto the world stage. Heavy industry giants, long known for precision engineering and reliability, entered a fast-growing arms market. For allies, especially the United States, this was a welcome change. Japan could now share the security burden and strengthen a Western defense chain under strain. Tokyo chose the timing with clear strategy. A global arms race was heating up. Factories in the United States and Europe faced a surge of urgent orders. Many middle powers could not afford high-end American systems. Japan, with strong technological credibility and a stable image, emerged as an attractive and reliable alternative. After easing export rules, Japan moved quickly to take its defense industry abroad. International partnerships followed in rapid succession. They proved the policy shift and signaled Tokyo's effort to redefine its role in the regional security architecture. The Philippines was the first to receive direct support from Japan. As Manila faced growing pressure from China in the South China Sea, Tokyo supplied spare parts for US-origin military helicopters and delivered 2 modern radar systems to strengthen maritime surveillance. In August 2025, Japan proposed transferring up to 6 Mogami-class destroyer escorts under the Official Security Assistance Program, and the Philippine Navy is eyeing 3 initially. Each ship is about 357 feet long, with a full load displacement of roughly 2,811 tons, and is built for anti-submarine warfare and escort duty. They are being replaced in Japanese service by the Mogami-class. This is a symbolic milestone. It shows Japan is ready to use defense power as a diplomatic tool to expand its influence in Southeast Asia. In parallel, cooperation with India advanced rapidly. In November 2024, Tokyo and New Delhi signed a joint development agreement for Unicorn, an integrated mast that houses multiple naval communications antennas in a single structure. The system is already installed on Japan's Mogami-class frigates. It reduces radar cross-section and simplifies maintenance according to official descriptions. Notably, Bharat Electronics in India will produce the system, boosting the local defense industry and strengthening the bilateral strategic relationship. Indonesia is also a key prospective customer. Since April 2025, Tokyo and Jakarta have held high-level talks on jointly developing and producing a customized Mogami-class variant for the Indonesian Navy. The project may include 4 to 8 ships, valued at about $2 to $3 billion. Part of the build would take place at local yards such as PT PAL to grow the domestic defense industry and strengthen maritime security in the South China Sea. These deals and partnerships show a clear shift. Japan no longer relies only on the American security umbrella. It is becoming a reliable security provider. The image of a security-free rider is giving way to a new position, a nation with high-end technology and the political will to help shape regional security directly. While Japan expands its role in the defense market, Australia faces a hard reality in the South Pacific. The Anzac-class frigates, the backbone of its navy for decades, have degraded badly. They have become a visible weak point in recent exercises. In 2023, during the multinational exercise Talisman Sabre, one of the region's largest with more than 30,000 troops, Australia's Anzac fleet showed clear degradation. Legacy systems struggled to integrate with modern technology. During the same Talisman Sabre exercise, the Royal Australian Navy's HMAS Warramunga revealed the limits of its aging data link systems. At the same time, tragedy struck. An MRH-90 Taipan helicopter from the Australian Army crashed near Lindeman Island, killing 4 crew members. Though unrelated in operation, both incidents exposed the same reality. Australia's defence forces were struggling with outdated systems and ageing platforms. The message was clear. Modernisation could no longer wait. A full inspection painted a bleak picture. The Anzac ships averaged 29 years of service. Hull fatigue cracks were present. Radar systems averaged only 43 operating hours, well below the NATO benchmark of 120 hours. These ships no longer fit modern warfare. They even became a barrier to improving the Royal Australian Navy's combat capability. The government had to act. In February 2024, the Defence Strategic Report set a goal to expand the surface fleet to at least 26 vessels. The plan includes 3 Hobart-class air warfare destroyers, 6 Hunter-class frigates, 11 new general-purpose frigates, and 6 large unmanned surface vessels. Urgency grew further. As early as 2027, the United States and the United Kingdom will maintain a rotational presence of up to 4 US Virginia-class and 1 UK Astute-class submarines at HMAS Stirling, about 31 miles from Perth. Without enough modern escorts, those submarines would face high risk in the Indo-Pacific's complex strategic environment. Choosing a new frigate class is not just about replacing old hulls. It is essential for Australia to maintain its role and strength within AUKUS. With the Anzac fleet in decline and AUKUS requirements pressing, Australia launched the SEA 3000 program to find a new generation multi-mission frigate. 4 contenders entered a fierce competition: Japan's Mogami-class, Germany's MEKO A200, South Korea's Daegu class, and Spain's Álvaro de Bazán class. After many rounds of evaluation on performance, cost, and industrial cooperation, Canberra made its choice. On August 5, 2025, Canberra announced a headline decision. It chose an upgraded Mogami-class variant from Mitsubishi Heavy Industries for the SEA 3000 program. The order covers 11 ships, with 3 built in Japan and 8 in Australia. Total value is 10 billion Australian dollars. It is Japan's largest defense export contract since World War II. The formal contract is expected in early 2026. Mogami's victory rests on several factors. First is stealth. Unlike its rivals, Mogami uses clean lines. Its hull and superstructure are optimized to cut radar cross-section. Structures such as the mast and the command area use stealth treatments that reduce reflected radar energy. Anti-ship missiles sit just forward of the hangar, with side shrouds that further lower detection risk. In a combined exercise in 2023, JS Kumano of the Mogami-class closed on a target undetected by opposing radar and completed the mission. This showed a clear edge over South Korea's Daegu class, with a crowded superstructure and fewer stealth features, and over Germany's MEKO A200, which reduces radar cross-section, but not to Mogami's level. Firepower also mattered. The Australian Mogami variant is planned with 32 strike-length Mk41 vertical launch cells. These cells can host quad-packed ESSM Block 2 for air defense and Tomahawk Block 5 for long-range strike, subject to integration. Tomahawk's reach is about 995 miles. If selected, the ship can also carry deck-mounted naval strike missiles for anti-ship engagements. The exact weapon mix and salvo size will depend on loadout and mission planning. Australia values that reach for regional deterrence. Mogami also mounts 2 quad launchers for Japan's Type 17 anti-ship missile, an improved Type 12. Its range reaches about 249 miles. Guidance blends inertial navigation, GPS, terrain matching, and a terminal active radar seeker. This composite guidance improves accuracy and jamming resistance, as shown in recent JMSDF tests, where Type 17 performed well in simulated anti-ship scenarios. Compared to its rivals, Mogami's edge is clear. Germany's MEKO A200 fields only 16 Mark 41 cells, half of Mogami's, which limits firepower. Spain's Álvaro de Bazán carries up to 48 Mach 41 VLS cells, delivering greater volume. Its earlier generation hull and superstructure provide less shaping for low observability than newer frigate designs. South Korea's Daegu offers a competitive price, but it is weaker in firepower and stealth. It cannot meet the Royal Australian Navy's long-term requirements. Automation is another key advantage. Mogami mounts a modern multifunction phased array radar with full 360-degree coverage. It maintains surveillance in complex multi-axis combat environments. The ship operates with about 90 sailors. Comparable US ships, such as the Mogami-class, often require roughly twice that manpower. Lower crew size reduces personnel costs, speeds reactions, and raises combat efficiency. By comparison, Germany's MEKO A200 uses more traditional radar and needs larger crews. Daegu and Álvaro de Bazán also demand more personnel than Mogami. The Japanese design is superior in economy and efficiency. Anti-submarine warfare is a major strength. Mogami carries a bow sonar and the OQQ-25 towed array, plus advanced ASW weapons. Beyond torpedoes and anti-submarine missiles, the ship has a flight deck and hangar for one SH-60K. It can also deploy unmanned surface vessels and unmanned undersea vehicles. Recent JMSDF ASW trials showed the OQQ-25 could detect and track simulated submarines and coordinate kills with helicopters and missiles. This confirms robust multi-layer ASW performance. Mogami can cover air defense, anti-ship missions, and long-range strike. Finally, technology transfer weighed heavily in Australia's decision. Japan will not only supply ships, it will allow Australian engineers to participate directly in testing and will share shipbuilding technology so Canberra can grow its domestic defence industry. This aligns with Australia's goal to pair naval modernisation with a sustainable defence industrial base at home. All these factors combined helped Mogami defeat its rivals and become the Royal Australian Navy's final choice. The decision was not only technical or financial, it was a strategic step. It reflected confidence that Japan can be a reliable, long-term security partner. The deal carries meaning far beyond a single naval procurement. For Japan, this is the largest defense export since World War II. It marks the moment Tokyo steps out of the shadow of a peace policy that constrained the nation for nearly 7 decades. With an order for 11 frigates, Mitsubishi Heavy Industries projects continuous production through 2034. That ensures stable long-term revenue and enables capacity expansion. At the same time, the Ministry of Defense is reallocating resources, shifting more funding toward hypersonic missile research and development. The goal is stronger strategic deterrence. For Australia, the contract accelerates naval modernization and advances AUKUS objectives. When the first Mogami enter service in 2030, they will operate with US Virginia-class nuclear submarines and unmanned surface vessels. Together, they will form a new combined fleet model, seen as a template for the Trilateral Alliance. With technology transfer and workforce training from Japan, Australia can upgrade its defence industrial base. It will move from maintenance to gradual participation in new construction. That creates jobs, raises technical skills, and delivers sustainable economic benefits. For Japan, Australia's selection of Mogami carries clear political and strategic weight. It deepens coordination with the United States and Australia and puts Tokyo in a more active Indo-Pacific role. The deal lifts Japan's defense industry and broadens its security diplomacy, while letting Japan shoulder more of the regional security burden. Japan is rising once again, not as an aggressor, but as a guardian of peace. Yet one question remains. Is the world ready for a Japan strong, not only in ideals, but also in arms?